Hey guys, quick video. I just want to do a little bit of explaining for, this is to do with snorkels. Do I need a snorkel and why, and how deep water can you go in? Now, there's a number of places where the water can come into a vehicle. So I'd like to remind you it is a motor vehicle, not a boat. Now, if we walk over to the vehicle, around about our waist height, this plastic trim, my waist is at the top of that plastic trim there, right? See that? That plastic, flare. The air intake is in behind there. It's around about that height. So let's just bring that around. That's the D4D badge. That's below the door handle, which is quite high. It's way too much water, guys. So if we bring that around to this side of the vehicle, let's come around here because we're lucky enough to have one with a few bits missing. Okay. So you can see the side of the vehicle where the water height would be if it was anywhere near the handle. And I just want to demonstrate how low. So you can see where the tyre is. Now, there's going to be a bit of mixed info in this, so it's going to mess with my head. Do I put it on 4x4 diesel or 4x4 touring? Because it's kind of more touring information, but it's going to be a little bit of mechanical information. Probably not the greatest idea to stick wires through that hole there. So that's a hole into the vehicle, and so is in here. So what's in behind there? Well, basically when you have your aircon and your climate control system on recirculate, the air recirculates, okay? When you have it on fresh, that allows the air to come into the vehicle, and that all happens sort of down behind here. That's why there's these little air vent things, whatever, right? The air goes in, but of course it needs somewhere to go out, okay? And this is where it goes out. They're on both sides. You go in deep water, say deeper than your tyres, which is only not even halfway up your doors, you're gonna have water pouring backwards into there. And once it fills up a little bit, it gets into the back of the vehicle. Then it runs down the floor pan to the back floor to the front floor. And it runs that way because the front of the vehicle doesn't float as well as the back, because the back's got a floor. Think about a boat, I've explained it before. A boat, it only takes a few inches of water to float in, it's kind of, depends what boat. It can be a few inches, a few can be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 inches. Maybe a few more, it depends on the size of the boat, but it doesn't take a lot of water to float a boat. And a vehicle is much the same. So once you feel that water coming up underneath the floor pan, you've only got a few more inches before the vehicle starts floating. And it might not be floating, but partially floating. It's the weight of the vehicles, it's coming off the tyres. You've got the river current pushing sideways. There's a lot of calculations and things you need to take into account if you're going to do a river crossing, okay? It's not just how deep is it and, this sort of thing. So please be aware of these, we'll call it, what are we going to call it? The technical word for those, I don't know. It's where the air goes out, vents. It's the air exit under the, we'll call it the air exit area under the rear side of the bumper bar, right? So that's a big part of it. There's other parts that matter as well, and that is, there's little drain holes in the bottom of the door. See those? So what happens is, I don't know how well you can see that, but it doesn't matter. What happens is the water quite quickly goes backwards up those holes, fills up in the door and starts leaking out the door trim and the speaker and that sort of thing. So that's another contributor. There's plus any other grommets and things that are missing from under the vehicle. The car, it's a car, not a boat, okay? So my point is, you don't need a snorkel. You don't need a snorkel, quite simply because at the end of the day, the air intake is a lot higher, right? It's a lot higher than everything else in the vehicle can handle. Now, okay, momentarily you're worried about it. Look, while it's got the standard bumper bar and this plastic liner up under here, it actually stays really clean and quite well sealed down in there, right? As soon as you change the bumper bar, it opens that up. Raising the vehicle probably helps more than having a snorkel. Having a lift kit, getting that air intake up a bit higher. And a couple of examples I'll just give you quickly. There's a couple of times, there's been a few times actually. Our 120 before we had a snorkel, water over the bonnet, right? That hit the windscreen, doing a river crossing in the high country, no problem. Crossing Eli Creek, we're having a bit of a muck around, right? Slight bit of a mistake, been there many times. Recovered someone, found myself stopped on the side of one of the wet, it was a bit further up the creek. I was sideways on one of the little creek crossings, and it's not that deep. But I thought I'd be smart, and we'd driven up and down Eli Creek before a little bit, and I thought I'd be smart, and I saw the next, there was another crossing a bit further down, 20 metres down the creek, and I thought I'd just drive down the creek and out the other side rather than back up and maybe get bogged and whatever. So I did that, but without looking too much, and as I drove down, I saw this deep, there was a nice water hole in front of me, nice bluey green water. It wasn't that deep, it was probably only about a metre or so, and just briefly the water, again, up over the bonnet, hit the windscreen, again, no problem without a snorkel. But yes, I put a snorkel on because it looks good, and you can get a cheap one for about $100 off eBay, and as far as I'm concerned, contrary to popular belief, and some people would have you believe, plastic is plastic. It's been on there for 6 years. It's rock solid, not a problem. I'm pretty sure I got my money's worth. Do I need it? No. Are we going to recommend to people you need a snorkel? No. I'm going to recommend that you understand your vehicle better and be very careful crossing rivers. And, you know, if you want genuine, authentic information like that, a reminder again to subscribe and turn that little bell on next to the subscribe word. If you got something out of it, please give us a thumbs up, the like button, and it's a bada boom, bada bing, something for you to think about. Have a great weekend. We're over here. See ya.